point of view is important, and sometimes we'll even mention you on air. You can say, don't mention my town. A lot of people, I'll just say the first name, and I won't even shout you out. So no embarrassment there. All right, in Washington today, will the health care vote, will it go through? John McCain, this is kind of a big deal. His vote on health care is seen to be very critical. Republicans hold 52 of the Senate's 100 seats. With all Democrats opposed, President Donald Trump can afford just 2 defectors on his health care reform team. So Republicans are threading that needle, baby, on that bill, as 3 of the party's senators said last week that they would vote no on the motion to proceed. Now, McCain been talking to reporters in the past that he would likely vote yes on the so-called motion to proceed. And this is the step that allows lawmakers to begin debate on the legislation. Beginning debate. Okay, we need to get this thing on the floor. That's going to be important, folks. Republican leadership. And Donald Trump leaning heavily on lawmakers to agree to vote on the procedural step that's going to allow the Senate to begin debating and amending this bill. And that's happening today. We really are hoping that there's something good that comes out of this. And I can't imagine Senator McCain, with his diagnosis, heading all the way from Arizona on a plane. He did get the clean bill of health, so to speak, that it was safe, at least to fly on a plane with his condition, that it wouldn't worsen it. And but he felt like it was necessary to be there, and it is pivotal today. And I believe something good's going to come out of this. I believe the presence of John McCain, his courage, I think, should inspire, and I would hope that it would inspire folks to do the right thing, to at least get this thing started, kicked off, and that's what these folks do. We got to debate it. We got to get this thing out here. We got to get this motion to proceed. This is the bottom line, folks, and this thing has been a very, very difficult road to try to repeal or replace or whatever. And now really the verbiage right now is out of Washington right now about this whole bill now is repeal. Repeal, not replace, repeal. And I think that's probably a better word. I think if that was more the conjecture, if you will, initially, I think that there would have been less problems. I don't think that there would have been no problems with the Dems at all to be so helpful about this particular thing, because this was Obama's jewel. This was something that I believe that there were so many Dems still that have been so loyal and just so appreciative of everything Obama stood for, that I felt like this was loyalty from them to not budge or want this thing to be repealed or replaced. But now repeal, knowing that this thing's imploding all around them, they see the damaging effects and how it's affected people for the bad and more people for the better. My take away on this one is I think people are seeing the light. And again, I think this bad thing that happened with John McCain could actually be a blessing in disguise. I really believe that today, as he's at Capitol Hill, and his vote will be heard. But I am believing today there's going to be something good that's going to come out of D.C. I don't think it's going to be a defeat. I think this is going to get things started in the process there, and lawmakers got their jobs. You know, it's not easy legislating. The job is never easy. This is why these guys, they dedicate their lives to this particular thing. But you got to get this thing on the floor, baby. You got to think this going, because nothing's going to happen. And the vote is expected today, once again, as the House of Representatives on a sanctions bill that will likely quickly come to the Senate. And the bill would impose tough new sanctions, by the way, on Russia for its alleged meddling in the U.S. Presidential election last year. and Moscow's annexation of Crimea. That's going to be discussed. It would also punish Iran and North Korea for recent ballistic missile tests. And since this diagnosis with Cain, it's been showered with tributes from all sides of America, from all parties, whose lifetime of public service included years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam. People are reflecting on John McCain's life and his service to the Senate and to his state and to his country. And that's weighing heavily, I think, on a lot of lawmakers' minds right now as they'll see John McCain today up close and personal, and definitely will hear from him. And, all cameras will be on him. It'll be a very, very important day today. But I believe emotionally, at the overtones to this whole thing, it's kind of very interesting. We got the late Senator Kennedy, who health care was very, very important to him, with Obamacare, the lion of the Senate. And they were friends. And he was stricken with brain tumor as well. And here it is. John McCain, at 80 years old, has the same condition. And isn't it ironic that they're talking about health care? He is hoping for the best health care. And you know what? That's all America wants, is that we get fair health care, the best health care. And believe me, we got some great doctors in this country. We got some great universities, hospitals, teaching hospitals. We have some great ones here in the Bay Area and Tampa Bay with Tampa General and St. Joseph's Hospital. We got Children's Hospital in St. Pete. We're blessed. Not all places are as blessed as much as some of the bigger cities are. And I'm reminded of that, that we definitely are blessed in this country to have these particular things. But when people can't get insurance that's affordable, that's a problem. Seniors can't get the medications that they need. That's an issue. And it affects people all over the country whether they were, a prestigious attorney and live longer than they anticipated, which happened to a lot of folks. It happened to my grandfather. He was a banker. And he thought he planned well, and he really did. They got to see the world before my grandmother passed away. He died in his house, but they had to refinance it. He was up until his 90s. And he had to started really suffering, the last 4 or 5 years of his life. They thought he was dead, and then he came back home. But they did a refi, and he was able to live out the remaining years of his life, which was a beautiful thing. But that's a good thing. But a lot of people, cancer and unforeseen things can drain your money in a heartbeat, and then you can't have any money. If you're using Medicare and Medicaid and things like that, then you can't have that service. So it's almost like you got to deplete all that kind of money, or they're going to take it, and then you don't qualify. It's just a lot of weird things that take place. But I've met with people that you would never think they would end up the way they do, but life's a mystery. You never know when you're actually going to need a particular procedure, but I'll tell you, it's the hopes, I'm sure, of every American. If something goes awry and you can't afford it, you certainly want the services to be available. And healthcare it's definitely a vital issue, and that's one of the top voting concerns. Well, polled last week from the New York Times, that was like the second or third thing that was most important on people's minds, and it was not Russia, Russia, Russia. These are tangibles that people can relate to. They can understand this. So with all this stuff going on, Donald Trump can multitask, by the way, and I can too. But in his mind right now, he's trying to weigh out some new punishments for his team. Now, trying to figure out, what we do when you actually don't do what you said you were going to do. And his staff are pretty much going to be held to a different standard, a higher standard, if you will, according to some confidants here. But with the change up here, I understand that he's going to really, it might even be a slimmer staff into the White House, from what I understand, but going to call them together, and he's going to try to root this out with Anthony Scaramucci. and try to figure out what in the world is going on here with non-loyalty in the White House, because there's still leakers in there. And we might be surprised to learn who in the heck the leakers are, but we don't know. And it's going to be challenging, some people say. But damn, in the White House itself, how can that be? Well, it is. Because somebody's calling the newspapers, somebody's copying things. If it was me, I'd have cameras and microphones everywhere. I'd be monitoring the tapes. I mean, I don't know if you can get away with that. I think that there's microphones in some rooms. I'm not sure. But don't be surprised if there's not more firings in the coming days. And so that's what we're getting in today. This is a really fascinating story, or not. It has to do with the Church of Satan and its founder. Came across the story, and I'm like, now, this is very interesting news. And it's kind of like one of these stories. He says, well, I didn't know that. Well, anyway, this is why a Satanist church co-founder says that LGBTQ people are drawn to Satanism. And it was a write-up in Vice, and they're explaining why LGBTQ people might be drawn to Satanism. Now, this is an article from the Satanic Temple founder, Lucian Greaves. He claimed that he wouldn't be surprised if more than half of the group's members were LGBTQ because of the temple's radically inclusive space, as he puts it. Greaves, the co-founder of the Satanic Temple, claimed that because the temple doesn't have strict separations of definitions of our gay membership, our trans membership, or anybody else, he wouldn't be surprised if more than half identify as such. Vice on Monday claimed that the temple is a haven for smart people with complicated identities that promotes benevolence and empathy. So the director of the temple's headquarters, based in Salem, Massachusetts, said, queer is an extra layer on the top of being gay, just like Satan is an extra layer on the top of being an atheist. You can be both. Greaves himself explained that the result of the temple attempting to place a statue in honor of veterans up in a public park in Bella Point, Minnesota. He says the monument was aimed to honor U.S. veterans. After striking down the monument and all the personalized monuments, a statement from the park read, the debate between these communities has drawn significant regional and national attention to our city and has promoted diversityness among our residents. While this debate has a place in the public dialogue, it has detracted from our city's original intent or designated a space solely for the purpose of honoring and memorializing military veterans, and has also portrayed our city in a negative light. But Greaves was displeased at the council's decision to ban the monument. And he says, if you look at the monument, it's very respectful. It's irrelevant, very somber, a simple monument, really. It's a monument for veterans. He continued, this was first and foremost something to honor veterans who fought and served. All veterans, not all veterans are Christians, not all veterans are Satanists, but they did fight for pluralism, and they did fight for free speech. And to that end, it's nice to know that we can preserve those values. Greaves concludes the Carlson's interview by saying, we're all a very growing population, and we should defend pluralism and free speech. We can't allow America to divide itself in regional theocracy. All right, great. Satanic Temple finds iconic home in Salem, Massachusetts. I'm sure and Salem actually has a rich history. So those in Salem, I don't know if you're trying to get away from that, but this is where their headquarters are, and they're stirring up big controversies in that particular area. Church of Satan, a haven for LGBTQ people. And the reason why they might be drawn in, because they have a safe haven. Interesting. By the way, there are plenty of churches in the evangelical sphere that actually have welcomed LGBTQ people for decades. So it's not just the Church of Satan that's actually welcomed people in. And the Church of Jesus has actually welcomed in Satanists for years. It's that they're not sitting there saying that they love their particular religion, but they they love the sinner, just like Jesus did. So it's one of those particular things where that's a lie to say that there's no